Hey, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Cultivate. Today, I have some friends joining me, and it's going to be a fun episode. I have asked them to think of something that they've been thinking about, that they've been just kind of maybe dealing with, or just, all of us have things in our minds all the time. And so I asked them to bring a topic that they had been thinking about. And so I know that in today's episode, that means we're going to have 4 different thoughts, and I know that they will resonate with some of us and the things that we're dealing with in our lives. So thank you, Zori, Marilyn, Tyra, for joining me today. I am excited. I love you guys, and each of you is a very different person, different personality, different stage in life, and so I'm excited for the conversations today. Yeah. We were already talking about our conversations earlier. Yes, we were. So we're going to start with Marilyn. Okay. Because we were already on this topic a little bit. What is one thing that you have been thinking about, just...
So like I was sharing earlier, I have a friend that she recently got out of a relationship, and she was considering joining this program called School of Dating. And it's supposed to help you, like coach you through dating and finding the right person, but more like in the sense of taking programs because you're going to do things right. Like dating has to be, it's more technical, and you pay like almost $1,700 for this course. Wow. And it made me think, man, when did dating get so complicated and technical, and the do's and don'ts and the expectations? Like, you guys are all married. Like, I wanted to pick your brains even. Like,
yeah, I'm wondering what this package includes. Like, what are they teaching you?
Right. So I know in the beginning you sit down with the husband, the couple, right? Like the husband, and you have a call with him, and they pick out your brain and and then you get kind of like a specified type of program where you get these courses and this, and like if you're gonna date multiple people, because you're dating to see if you want to be in a relationship, and then see if you're in a relationship, then you be in a marriage. But
are they finding you the people for that price?
Well, there's testimonials, but I haven't gotten that far into it because it's not even something I've considered.
Yeah, you just...
You know what I mean? Like, I've done apps at most, and it's like, no, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we were talking about it because we think it's kind of strange to... Like, it's like a school of, like, do's and don'ts, and thinking that a course is going to find you someone.
Right. Or that you're doing it completely wrong, so you have to do it this way a little bit, where it's like, man.
So we said you have friends that can tell you, hey, maybe do this. Hey, what about that? Right. And I was thinking that's more personal development, in the sense of, like, if you're a super shy person trying to, not be so shy, or maybe if there's things to change. But I think that happens in the context of, like, friendships and community. Yeah. Right. And even your own self, like, thinking through things. So I just personally think it's a little strange to like put a label and box in, I don't know, like something that flows naturally, and also charge $1,700 for it. But hey, I'm not trying to judge. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to judge them. Do your thing. Right. I mean, if it's working out for you,
people sign up for it and they use it, so it works apparently. But at the same time, like, man, I never thought that me being raised in church and thinking like, man, you're gonna find somebody in church and just keep yourself busy in God and this and that, and it's like, here I am, like almost 40 and still single, and it's like, okay, so really having to self-reflect a little bit, like, okay, personal development, who's my community, like what's happening, who am I exposed to even consider to date someone, because I have dated and it hasn't worked, so it's like, so what's happening, like, do I pay
sometimes
those 17?
I think the person is right under our nose and we don't know it.
Is that a hint?
This is no, I'm not thinking of anyone. I'm just saying, and what you were saying is true. What happened to that organic? Like you meet somebody, what happened to that? Right. Like even apps, I think, for me that I'm older, I can't imagine, and they work. I'm not saying they don't, but it's such a foreign concept for me. But I'm gonna say something else that I think to that subject. I grew up at a time where I think we were more limited. I met Louis, and I'm not saying I love my husband. I'm not saying I shortchanged myself, but I grew up in a small church. I didn't grow up in a small church. I attended a small church for a time. which is where I met my husband, Luis. And I remember people getting together that were like, I can't, like,
see that.
There's other choices. And you're not taking, like, do you see that that's also the other hand on that? You know, there's a couple that I know that are like, why are you guys getting married? There's nothing. Louis and I, we were, you know, I think we connected and we were compatible and but sometimes you attend these small and you think this is it. And so I think both of them are an issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think that, and I've said it all the time, I'm like, you might not see that person yet because that person might not be around yet. But I think in a moment, when you least expect it, someone just shows up in your life, in your group of friends. And so I think, yes, there are ways to develop who we are to be like if you're super shy, you might not ever find anyone because you're never going to find yourself in a conversation with anyone. So stuff like that, it's like, yes, that's you developing who you are, your skills beyond dating, just in general. You want to walk into a place and not just be able to have a conversation. But I think to make dating so technical, or it has to be like this and you have to be like this, I think it takes away also from like the beauty of what meeting someone and falling in love with someone is, of like, this is who I am. It's not a rehearsed version of me, and it's not this, you know, taught version of who I'm supposed to be. It's just who I am.
And who I think the other person is. I know I say the word in English, but choca with exactly how we grew up, where it's like, hey, you're gonna meet someone and you're gonna fall like that organic way, and it's like, man, so I have to drop all of that to then try this, like.
And I think also, like, dating is just, it goes to so many extremes, right? It's the limited. Back in the day, you know, it was like, this was it. And then this culture now where it's like the complete opposite. Like, I dated plenty, nothing I'm proud about. But then it's, again, the extremes of like, well, you just gotta date all these people and like hook up with all these people and see cuál te conviene, you know, like, which one do you like? And it's like the whole other extreme. But that's like what you need to do now. Like, at least for the culture and like nowadays. And it's like,
and it's okay. Like, I know there's a comedian lady that she was talking about. She recently got divorced, and that people, like, guys look for her because she's divorced and a mom of 2, and it's like she has money, and it's like, it's the like fun thing to do. So people see dating as that too. Like, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna hook up with her because she's like that fun mom. Like, it's a thing to look at. Like, you're a better option than an actual good independent single woman. I'd rather the mom.
So all that to say, crazy. It's not just the dating and who we are as far as like our skills for dating. It's also the kind of people that are in the world today. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we think, well, it could be me, or there's not enough people. But as I talk to you and other girls, sometimes it's just the quality of people. You know, you might see someone and they might be a great person, but as you get to know them, you realize that this generation is different, you know. And I say this generation as in like I'm a lot older. I'm not, but you know,
I can say this generation is different.
It's just different. You know, I see some guys that I think also, like, when I talk to my single friends, I'm like, I probably wouldn't, if I was single, I probably wouldn't be dating any of these guys either. You know, because you have to think about your future, who they are, like your level of maturity, what do you want in life? And so sometimes it's not just you, although it could be you, because I'm sure there are things in our lives that we could get better and whatever. But sometimes it's also like what's out there. You know, we have all these men that are not men.
I was just about to say that.
Even this younger generation that's being raised, the 15, 16, 17, some of these young guys don't know the basic things of like what it looks like to be a gentleman, to be kind to a woman, to like, you know, open a door, to say thank you, to hold a door, to
have a job,
to have a job, to
so that
brush
you can
your
date.
teeth.
You need brush a job to date. When my kids were young and they said, oh, I have a girlfriend, you got a job so you can take her out to dinner? Because that's, and I think that as parents, sometimes we can enable
Absolutely.
our young men and our young women
100%.
to think, and this is gonna be, this is just how I think.
Say it.
And I can
Just
say it.
Say it.
We raise boys, enabling them and providing things for them that they need to struggle a little bit, like hard work is something that, and then girls grow up thinking they're princesses.
Yes.
And that's cute when they're little and you're a princess, but you know what, when mom and dad are not around to provide for the princess, then there's a problem with a guy that's probably just a hard worker and maybe doesn't make as much money as mom and dad, but no, I'm a princess. And I just think that both are wrong. I think we need to raise our daughters to be to seek godly men and strong men and men with jobs and men with responsibility and ambition. We talked about that the other day. Like,
and a sense of reality too.
And a sense of reality.
Because real life isn't your life at home always. Like there's a whole world outside. And I would take that a step further and say, we're transitioning to so many things. But the generation today of feminists and this twisted new generation of feminists that was not what it was, 20, 30 years ago, where women were actually fighting for their rights. Now it's a movement of angry, bitter, crazy women who are hate men. And so now we are going into a point where we want to take masculinity away because masculinity is bad and being a man is bad and the patriarchy. And I understand the core of it. And I understand there was a time where women couldn't do X, Y, and Z. And I am the first one that's like, hello, cultivate and flourish, whatever. but we also have to be real. There's men and there's women, and men were meant to be tough and rough, and not like a woman.
Them.
Men were not meant to be women.
And women were allow them.
Absolutely, women were not meant to be masculine. We could have stronger traits. We all talk about it. Like Tyra is the girliest girl, and that's who she is. I'm not the girliest girl, but I'm still feminine in who I am, and in me knowing my role in life, and in me encouraging a man to lead and to be a man. And so I think we've put this whole thing of the patriarchy, masculinity, and we've just made this blanket statement to make it seem like all men are bad and are evil, and being masculine and strong and assertive it's a power thing.
And we can do it on our own type of thing.
And we're doing young men as a service because I wonder how the generation of men, like my daughter, when she's older, how they're gonna look like. And I think that plays a part back into dating.
I think feminism has just distorted men's view of women also. It's like, for example, I was raised with a father who was like, you're always going to work hard. You get what you need to do for you. And yes, 100%. Thank you, Dad. But it was also still knowing like, hey, but the man is also going to still lead the household. Like that's where God has placed him. And this feminism movement, right, of just like, I'm tough, I don't need a man. I think it has intimidated men. And so these guys are growing up, and it's like, you can't even sometimes go up to a girl because she's going to be like, oh, I don't need you to open the door. I don't need you to do this. And it's like, we're doing a disservice, and then we're complaining also about these men not being encouraged to come and say, hey, can I talk to you? Hey, can I ask you for your number? And it's like, when we're the first ones to be like, oh, why? Like, you're not good
and
enough.
then we complain, and I see online
and we see
whatever.
it everywhere. We see it in TV. We see it in commercials. We see it on shows that the men are idiots and the women take control.
So I'm going to take this one step further, and then we're going to take it right back.
Okay.
Because you can call me a conspiracy theorist all day. I am one, and you don't want to take me there. But I believe it's all going or stemming from this thought, which I believe is a demonic ideology, which is to break down the family. Family is a man and a woman raising their children, a husband, a wife, playing those roles to the way that God wanted them to be.
Yeah.
Being a home. I mean, look at how much society nowadays has to look, because it happens slowly, to get the man out of the family.
Yes.
Fathers to not be present.
Yeah.
Right.
This whole distortion of it. So if we destroy what those two essential beings are supposed to be like, we're destroying society, we're destroying
Absolutely.
everything, and we're allowing everything else to be in its place, whether it be government, whether it be an ideology, whether to now play the role of what these two people were meant to be and what God intended for family. So we need to fight for family, and we need to fight for these roles. If you have young children at home, teach boys to be boys.
Yes.
Boys can be both strong and tender.
Yes.
They can be both strong, assertive, and kind,
Yes.
and gentle, and be rough around the edges, but still be loving and caring. Girls can be sweet and kind, but they can also be strong women. So
Yeah,
all of that
we
to
need
go
a school
back
of
to-
development is what we need.
I'm just not gonna charge you $1,700. But all of that, going back to dating, I think all those things play a part in.
100%.
I remember my dad had asked me before, like, man, you and your friends, you guys are all like Christian girls. And it's like, he asked me, what do you think the problem is? And it's exactly what you're saying. I'm like, it's the fact that through time, people are being raised by single parents. And there's nothing, like, even the best mom is never going to be a man.
Absolutely.
So if a man is not present in a boy's life, he's never going to be taught correctly how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
So, and it's happened throughout the years. Like you said, it's slowly, but it's happening. It's happening. And here we are now exposed to that, to guys that don't know how to treat me like how my dad treated me. And we're looking for that.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Exactly.
There's the lack.
And so hopefully, I think sometimes I'm like a little discouraged, but then I'm encouraged because I do think that I have seen now more than I had seen in the past, a new wave of godly men who are stepping up to say it's okay to be a man, and this is what a man looks like.
Yeah.
And so we need more men in the church, more men who are Christian men, good men, godly men, to just take other men under their wings and just teach them and have conversations with them and mentor them. There's such a lack of fathers, and but you don't have to have birthed a child to be a father figure in their lives.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so that's why
That's
it's
where
so
community
important.
comes in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we need that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tyra, what has been in your mind lately?
So yeah, I was actually sharing with you guys earlier. So I had seen this reel like about a month ago on Instagram. And the whole concept of the reel was, the girl was saying, my biggest flex is that I'm friends with everybody, but not everybody is my friend. And I was just like, Lord, is it a good thing that I identify with this, or is it bad? Or is it that maybe I just don't identify at all? Because I just think personally, for me, my thoughts, again, been thinking about this week, just been going through so many things. And I'm like, I hear people say like, oh, have you talked to somebody about it? And I'm just kind of like, who? Who do you go to? Who do you really talk to and share like your true deep self? And I don't know, I was just thinking about that because I was replaying all these things in my head all these past few weeks, and I'm just like, wow, like I really am everybody's friend. And I think a lot of people can come to me and know that I will hold their secrets, I will give them the best advice I can, like I will walk things through with them. But then it's like, well, who does that for me? And I was kind of like, oh, yikes, like that's not very good.
So when you think of a friendship that you would find that in, what does that look like? Like as you saw that, because and you thought, well, not everyone's my friend, then what is it that you're looking for in that friend that you can feel like, okay, you are my friend?
Yeah, I think, for example, like nobody likes to be like rebuked, right? But I appreciate that. I appreciate when someone can come in the most loving way, because I know what it's like to be like reprimanded, and I don't want to be reprimanded. I want to be lovingly rebuked.
Yeah.
And so when someone can come and do that towards me, for example, a lot of people have tried to like, and I can kind of like, But my best friend Coco, I don't know how she does it. The Lord has blessed her with it. Like, she can rebuke me and I will take it. And I'll be like, okay, thank you. Like, you love me. The way that you did it, the way that you said it, like, it's because you actually care about me. You care about my heart. So that's something that I like absolutely admire, and I think we all need, because I don't want yes people around me. I don't want people that are gonna always clap. Yeah, you go, girl, and I'm like about to jump, and fall in a ditch. But I don't know. There's like a level. I feel like everybody knows me, but there's just a level where like there's a wall that I'll just never let. Like, you're only gonna get so much of me, because I feel like I've just been in the past so many times betrayed, heartbroken because of the things that people have done or said, that you're only gonna get so much before I'm like, okay, well, there's my wall up. Like I'm gonna keep me to actually myself.
Yeah.
I can identify with that very much, because I really didn't have friends till my 40s. I have family that I consider friends. It was actually at Calvary that I began to open myself up, and I think it's a very personal thing, because like you, I've never held people close before, but that I've realized that that's on me.
Yeah,
I haven't, and my first real friend that I met in my 40s is Lisa. And Lisa, I want to say, almost pursued that friendship. We were doing Celebrate Recovery together, and she would be like, she would call me, and I'd be like, why is she calling me? Because I'm not used to friendships.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hey, what's up? Oh, no, just wanted to talk. Like, what?
About what?
About what? I didn't know how to be a friend.
Yes.
I was good at giving people advice, but that's not being a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out what it was that I needed as a friendship so that I could be that to someone. And again, it was organic. It wasn't, that she, forced me to be her friend.
Lisa forced you.
but she taught me how to be a friend.
She was being a friend.
Yeah. She was being my friend. And it was a little overwhelming at first, because it's like, okay, like, you want to hang out? And now she's my sister. Like, I can't imagine life without her. But it took from my part. Lisa was already a good friend. She would have been somebody else's good friend. Yeah. But it was me. I didn't know how to be a friend. And so I can totally identify with that so much.
I think there's layers to that. I think I'm trying to peel back the layers that make sense. I think there's different types of friendship. And so I think there's a friendship that could be like that one friend that you have, and you might just have two people that are like that, or one. And you should be okay with that. That's one level of friendship. I think there's another level of friendship that might be less deep. And that doesn't mean they're not your friend. That just means that that's just the level of whatever that person can give you. Because I feel like, on the other hand, if you wanted or expected everyone to be that level of friend, I think not everyone can give you that.
Right.
Not just because they don't want to, but I think some people just genuinely do not know how to, or they just don't. It's just not what it is.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be okay too, to know that sometimes there might just be one or two friends that are that deep friend that knows every part about you, and you feel comfortable, and you know they understand you, and you know they can call you out. It might just be one.
Yeah.
And that's okay, as long as you have that one person. Yeah. At the same time, are you allowing other people in your life to see that part of you? Because then some people won't be able to call you out, or won't be able to give you advice on something they themselves don't know it's happening.
Right.
So it also takes away from, if I want all of this, I need to be able to do this. Right. And am I willing to? Because I'm going to be your friend and speak into your life in as much as you're willing to.
Vulnerability.
Yes, right.
Show me.
Which is a no.
Exactly.
Vulnerability
So you're
is a
not
big
going to
one.
find more of that, receiving more of this when you're not willing to give more of this. Because I'm going to talk to you based on this. If this is what you give me, this is what you're going to get back.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want more, then there's got to be more. Because if not, I can't. Now, I don't think that this is something you should do with everyone.
No.
Not because everyone is a bad person, but because it's just, I think it's unnecessary. You know, not everyone needs to know your business all the time. You could still have friends that are not involved in the tiniest part of your life.
Right.
But then I go back to that. In as much as you want to receive, you need to be willing to show that part of you and to be vulnerable enough to show someone that part you don't want people to know, you don't want people to see, or that part that you're like unsure about, or that part that you're like, maybe if they see this about me, they're not gonna like me, or they're gonna think I'm crazy, or they're gonna think I'm whatever.
That's it.
But if I'm not willing to do this,
Yeah.
you know, because there might be someone out there that wants to be your friend or call you out, but they're like, I can't because I don't know you like that.
Yeah.
Because you never bring that to me.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that as you get older, you don't want to have that many people around because you have so much going on. Your layers of your life are more personal, more deep, that you do have to be selective about who you let into your life.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking about that with Mercy the other day, that it's like exactly what you're saying, that there's people that you have that 50-50 with, in the sense that you can be as vulnerable as they are with you, but then there's people that you're only going to pour out to them. Like, no matter what they give you, you're still going to be their friend because you are a good friend.
Yes.
And you know that they're going through it, and personally, let's say, like, you don't want that person speaking to your life right now because you know that they're going through stuff, and that's okay. It doesn't stop us from being, like, me being your friend, but I don't necessarily need you to be my friend. And I would say, me growing up as an only child, I feel like I almost spoke too much when I was younger and let too many people speak to me because I didn't have, let's say, a sister or somebody that I considered close enough. And I'm like, man, okay, so I'll say this to this person, this to that person, and then I would receive too much feedback, and then I would be still in the mess that I that I was trying to get out of. And then I've learned as I got older, okay, like, I don't need to have 10 friends, like close friends. I'll have 1 or 2 and that's it. And then the rest as I go. And everybody has like a season and a time. I was hearing yesterday, I think, even Jesus, when he went to go pray, from 12 disciples, he only had 3 people that he said, hey, come with me.
That's great.
And then the other 9 were like, okay, that's it. Like, nobody was like, oh my God, you didn't take me to pray with you. And it's like, no.
It didn't mean that they weren't close.
No,
it's
right.
just a different type of closeness.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be selective and a little bit guarded. And it's true, like, but then who are you also going to spill all your guts to? Like, you're not going to do it with just anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think too, it's a personality thing. Everyone has a different idea of friendship.
Yeah.
You know, because of how we are. I grew up like you, an only child, so I grew up alone.
Yeah.
I didn't chit chat with people. I chit chatted with myself. You know, so I'm not that friend.
Yeah.
If you want me to, or if you need me to, I will. But I'm not that friend that I talk on the phone for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh, no.
Like I don't talk on the phone like that. I don't. You know, let's go out to dinner and let's talk about something. Let's go grab a coffee and we'll talk.
Yes.
But I'm not this like, because that's just not who I am as a person.
Right.
So I'm not gonna be like,
Right, like every day. Like,
after
this happened to me, and
I
this
just got
and
home
this
and
and
tell
that.
me about your day
The
or
whole
my
day,
day.
yeah.
It's like I don't want to talk right now.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is a space for that where we
Yeah.
can talk about those things, and if you need me, I'll be there for you. And if you ever call me and you want to be like, hey, this is happening,
sure.
Yeah.
and I'll check up on you, or if you want to check up on me. But I'm just not that friend that's like, because that's just not who I am.
Right.
So sometimes also we need to remember that people, it's not that people aren't our friends, it's that sometimes our idea of friendship might just be our idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that might be who we are, and we expect people to show up for us in the same way. And it may not be that they're not showing up, it's just that they're showing up in different ways.
Yeah.
That's
And the
very
way
good.
we show love is different. You know,
Yes.
I have friends that I might not text you in a few days, and I still love you and you're my friend, and I am here for you, and we'll talk about whatever, whenever, and have deep conversations, and I'll show up
Yes.
for you. So I think it's a lot of
Little
moving pieces,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
that.
No, and I love that you said that. Like, it's like we can catch up whenever, and we can talk like if nothing ever happened. But like, we don't need to talk for a month and like nothing happened. Like, we're not less friends.
Yeah.
The world
Those are
didn't
real
end.
friends,
Those
I
are
think.
real friends,
Yeah.
right? Like, Becky and I, we've been best friends for 19 years. And there were seasons in life where like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to you in like 6 months. Mm-hmm. But it's like nothing happened. Right. And I value those friendships because again, like what you're saying, it's only how much you give also. And right, we're in like the season of marriage and motherhood. And it's like motherhood, you know, got me holding on to my chair because I'm like, I don't have time to be that friend. And like I don't expect that in return. I don't expect people to be like, oh well, how are you, you know, how's everything? And because I'd probably get overwhelmed, you know, like it's like I'm dealing with a toddler, crazy toddler. But I love that you said that. I love that you said that because I do value friendships that know like I'm still your friend even though I haven't talked to you in 3 weeks.
I think about my friendship with you, and I think you described it perfect. I know that when I'm in need to talk to someone, you're the person that you're gonna make time for me. You're gonna, but we're not into, hey, what are you wearing tomorrow? To the, you know, we're not those people. But I know that I can count on on your friendship when I need it because.
I agree. I go to her office. I'm like, hey.
I know when Mary's joking, like, hey. I'm like, hi.
Like, hey, what's up?
Hey, so you got 10 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
And again, it's different. Even like, I love Marilyn, and she can talk to me about anything, and I can talk to her. But I'm not the friend that can hang out with her every Friday because I can't. I have to put my kids to, you know, and it's just different stages. But I know she has those friends and those people, and I love that for her. Like that's like I'm so happy that she has different friends for different things, and it's not that they're less friends than I am or that I'm less than. It's just it's so different.
You know, it's funny for me being older. I can be everybody's mother, right? In our staff, I can. Literally be,
almost.
Gosh, I'm old.
You're aging yourself.
But you know, I love that Marilyn and Mercy, sometimes they're going somewhere and they'll call me and go, hey, so we're going to go this. You want to come? And I feel so privileged. Like, really? You want to hang out with me too?
We feel privileged.
Because sometimes, you know. And I love that friendship. I love that I can be motherly, but we can also be friends and identify with each other. I feel so blessed, you know, to work with everyone that's so much younger than me. And yet I feel like I can talk. You know, the other day, you know, Phil, who I saw be a teenager, a pain in the butt teenager, you know, when he was, you know, in that stage in life. And you know, the other day I had a moment and he was able to pastor me so well through that moment. And I think, you know, age is really not a thing. And I received so much what he said to me because I needed it. And so I love that being older, that I can still just enjoy those friendships without it being an age thing. So, you know. Friendship is a good thing.
And it looks different. And I think
and
even
it looks different,
much like dating, I think part of it also goes back to a self-reflection thing of who am I putting out there? You know, what am I giving? You know, am I being vulnerable when I want to receive that in return? Am I being someone that can look at myself and think, is there room for me to grow? If when it comes to dating, I think it's also a very personal thing.
Absolutely.
What about you, Zor?
Well.
well.
You know, I have been thinking, even in all these subjects that we bring up, because I am older, how I view things. Like when you talk about dating, you know, one of the things that happens now in dating is like, oh, I just talked to a young man that's, you know, interested in a girl. And I go, oh, so are you guys dating? No, we're talking. I'm like, okay, you're talking. But in my day, that was called dating. Like, you know, everything is so... Like, come on, when do we call
technical.
It dating?
It's so technical.
No, we're talking.
So complicated.
Okay, when does the talking turn into dating, turn into...
it's almost like a
are you boyfriend
commitment.
and girlfriend? No, we're just kind of dating now. You know, it's just so funny to me.
I still don't understand.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
many
It's
levels.
it's not to label a commitment. So it's like, no, we're just talking.
And everybody's afraid
but
of
you're only
commitment.
talking to one person. So
Yes.
you're dating, but we're just talking. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't want to go back to that topic
Yeah,
because we're
but-
already in yours. But
the
what's the
views-
difference between we're talking and we're dating?
Exactly.
the
That's
same thing.
I'm
I
still
feel
getting to
like-
know you. I just
Yes.
hate the
I guess it's like
the
we're
labels
talking,
that they're
yeah.
just like
We're
we're just
talking,
getting
but
to
I don't
know
open
each
your
other. We're
door.
nothing
Yeah.
yet.
I mean, I
Nothing's
remember
happening.
dating and being like, hey, you want to be my girlfriend?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we went from like talking on the phone a few times to
I
like,
like
hey,
you.
that's
Let's-
it.
Yeah.
Right.
We're boyfriend and girlfriend. But now
No,
it's like,
weird.
even when my kids were young, I would be like, oh, so no, mom, we're just talking. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And so I just think it's funny, you know, Louis and I sometimes, the whole generational gap that there is. And you know, I think as being an older person, I always want to be okay with the generational gap. Like I love my generation. And I want to keep up, right? I don't want to be like an old person that, you know,
Yeah.
thinks the world sucks now because of technology. No, I want to keep up. But I think it's interesting that even with friendships, how different friendships were when I was young. You know, I had friends at school. Once school was over, you're not my friend no more because I don't see you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we didn't have social media.
Right.
We didn't keep up. If you didn't make a phone call, couldn't text. If you didn't make a phone call, you did not have a friend anymore. If you did not write a letter, oh
Yeah.
God, I'm so old. Yeah, but really, you know, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so for people like me that did not like talking on the phone and did not write letters, you know, how different friendships are. And I just think it's interesting. Even these young people that sometimes I'm like, what? You know, we talked about like young men and you know, like,
Yeah. Like their
dude, you need to get a
expectations.
job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I want to say
Yes.
that to some, like, oh, no, I just,
yeah,
you know,
like where are your standards? And
Like-
yeah.
Yeah.
like what? You need a job.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do. You need a job. I remember my son Daniel he had no direction. Graduated from high school, barely, and he was like, and I remember Louis said to him, "Your summers are over. You are either finding a job, you are either going to school, which he had decided he wasn't, but you are not playing video games. You are not at home anymore. You need to get a job." And there are so many kids that just graduated that I'm like, so what are you doing? So what are you doing?
It's just a culture thing now.
You don't have to pick your career at 18, but you need to have a job.
Right. And it's like the culture now, it's just, oh, I graduated and like I don't know what I want to be with my do with my life. Like, and parents are enabling
But
that.
parents allow it. And
Yeah.
I think it's this whole thing, like the same thing with gentle parenting. I understand gentle parenting until a certain extent. But also, don't gentle parent to the point that you're raising entitled, rude human beings. And so this thought of, I didn't have this, so I want my kid to have that. And I understand, again, at the core of where it's coming from, I understand that there were people who grew up and endured things that they shouldn't have. But then now we take it so far to the other extreme. That's like, oh, my parents used to beat me, so I'm never gonna spank my kid, you know, whatever. Or I'm never gonna raise my voice because my dad used to yell at me all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I understand again where it's coming from, but you also can't now completely get rid of everything in trying to, oh, my poor kid. It's like, no. Also, we need to raise people who are able to live in a real world, who's crazy, and that's difficult.
Yeah.
I think of like my own life and the way that my mom and I struggled, and you know,
And the value of that.
right?
I was
Like
gonna say the value.
I remember I had the best of both worlds growing up. You know, my dad had money, and so we had all these things, and we were able to do all these incredible things for people who didn't have. And then I'm with my mom, and we lived in tiny rooms, and I sometimes slept on the floor, and all these different things.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can sit back and say, well, I don't want Aria to struggle because, you know, I slept on the floor a few times, and, you know, we didn't have a place to live, and you know, we had nothing but the clothes in the back of our car, and we had nowhere to go. And or I can say, you know what, I want my kid to struggle a little bit, because it's in that struggle that she's gonna realize that she's strong the same way. So I think about it, it's like, no, girl, I'm gonna show you real life. Like, that's my duty as a mom, is not to make your life easier.
To build character.
It's to build character in you, and to prepare you for a world that does not care about you.
That's not in a bubble.
That is not fair.
That it's not fair. That's not gonna be handing you fourth place little awards because it's gonna hurt your feelings. No, the world's gonna hurt your feelings, and you need to be tough.
Yes.
I love that Corral had mentioned, because with her students, and she mentioned this to me once, and I was like, yes, 100%. She had a student, they're all playing outside, and one of them comes to her and they're like, he took the ball from me. She's like, so go get it. Nowadays we're used to, okay, sweetheart, you need to share. I'm sorry, can you give him the ball? And all you're doing is enabling that child to, the world's gonna give me what I want. I just need to go ask people so that they can give. No. Go get what you want in life.
And can I say also that any little thing that a kid does to another kid is bullying? Listen, I went to school. I know what bullying is. And just because they tell your kids something like, hey, you're dumb, or that's not bullying. That's natural.
Life.
That's life. They're going to say that to you, you know, in real life. And Marilyn and I were talking about, you know, as it relates to dating, we were talking about like men that don't have
like ambition, right?
Ambition. Ambition is good. To want to be better. And it's not that we want to, you know, do whatever we can, but I feel like there are young people getting married with just enough because mom and dad can still provide. And that for me is very, like, I remember my son Tommy. He wanted to get married. He was 19 when he got married. Wow. And I thought, oh my God, Louis was 19 when we got married. I'm like, you're too young, trust me. But this was his thing. And I remember him talking to Michelle, his wife now, her dad, and saying, hey, I love your daughter and I want to marry her. This is the ring I picked out. And he said, oh, that's awesome. He says, I want a spreadsheet on how you're going to provide for my daughter. Because you know what? She's doing really good here. She don't need to marry you. So I want to know how you're going to provide for her. And I thought that was the greatest thing in the whole world. Like, because I ain't going to help her. You're taking her. You're responsible for her.
That's right.
That's pretty basic, guys. And I remember Tommy coming home like white. He says, Mom, can you help me write a spreadsheet on how I'm going to take care of Michelle? I'm like, no, that's all you, bud. You know? But I think that's missing. Because we're so scared of our daughters not getting married.
But it goes back to what Dee was saying, in the sense of, oh, well, we lacked, so how can I just overflow my kid with things? But eventually your child has to grow up and leave your house and leave your covering and leave your finances.
That's what
they
the
gotta
Bible
make
says.
it on their own. Like birds, eventually you gotta fly or you're gonna die. So we just enable, oh no, honey, just stay in the nest forever. So you're gonna starve. Because if you leave that poor little bird in the nest, it's gonna starve, and that's it. Life is over.
Putting like a band-aid over that road.
And I love that. To say this generation, I love that we have so many tools to better ourselves. That generation, you know, behind us didn't necessarily have, because there were things that weren't talked about. So there is beauty in knowing and acknowledging the things that people have been able to acknowledge, the people that grew up being abused, the people that grew up going. There's beauty in that, in saying, hey, I endure these things and I can be better and I should be better. So yes, we should be better. But there's also a line between being better and doing better for ourselves and our families, and then enabling them. And then in a nice attempt to be better, now we're really damaging. So I love that I get to now look at my mom and see how incredible she has been, and think to myself, well, I'm gonna do this differently with my child.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna actually, not because she was bad, not because she did the best that she could and she's incredible.
Yes.
But I see things in myself, not about her, but about me, that I'm like, I should do this like this. I should, but still with a clear mind that my job is still to raise a functioning, member of society who brings something to the table and is not just gonna
Absolutely. And you know what? I am the biggest enabler. Just for the record, I talk a big game, but
your kids turned out pretty all right.
Yeah, thanks to their father, I think. Louis was not an enabler, and I was. I mean, I remember my kids calling Louis. We ran out of gas. Louis like, yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. What do you mean? They ran out of gas. We gotta go. And Louis is like, no. They're gonna push the car to a gas station and they're gonna get gas. And I value that so much now. Because I think if I would have raised my kids on my own, they would be like, no.
Yeah, that's what happens. Like a lot of kids don't know that we live in a world where you're gonna struggle and you're gonna suffer. You have to endure it and get through it and make the best of it. Like you're gonna be okay, but you have to get through it.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, no, here, let me cover. No.
Yeah.
Go through it.
Yes.
Go through
And I remember, we got a flat tire. Yes. Very good. You remember I taught you how to do it? You better figure it out.
Yeah, it's like a culture of idleness.
Those
like
are
these,
things,
especially like guys. It's just like,
and
where do you find guys now that are handy and that know how to change tires and know how to do? No, call the tow truck. They'll just figure it out. No, we gotta learn how to do things. Don't come at me. I don't know how to change a tire. I should.
Yeah,
but
I should.
Yeah, I'm like, no, and I should, but
and listen, I didn't have girls.
Just kidding. I'm not gonna learn.
I don't know. And great for technology that you can call a tow truck. I'm sure all 3 of my kids call tow trucks now if they get a flat tire. But I think the basic is to teach them how to do it.
Yes.
And it's the idea behind it. It's not just to change a tire. It's the fact that you can problem solve and you're not gonna, if you're 18 and you still have to ask your mom to call your doctor to make an appointment.
That's bad.
There's a problem.
That's a problem.
If you still have to ask your mom, can you please get it? Because you can't speak. That's a problem.
Yes.
So if you're watching this, again, this is not to shame people.
No,
this is not to, nobody's the perfect parent. No. I'm not going to be a perfect parent because I'm not a perfect human being. And there's things that my kid is probably in the future going to think that I could have done different. It's life. But to understand that there is a role we have to play, which is to prepare. We're not raising kids for us.
Yes,
we are raising kids for God and for themselves, for society. Yes. So it's like you have to train kids to be able to live in the kind of society we live in, which isn't what happens in your house.
No. Yep.
Nope. So,
Diana?
Me?
Yes. What are you thinking
All these
about?
conversations are so fun, and mine isn't that fun.
It'll be fun. We'll make it fun.
I was thinking about what to say because you think about a lot of things. I was thinking. I said I don't know what name to give it. Going down this whole thing of conspiracy theories. I think we are a society that is entertained. We are entertained by our phones. We are entertained by social media. We are entertained by whatever and anything, people, things. And I think we've become more involved and aware of everyone else's lives and everyone else's problems and everyone else's things than our own. And we live our lives. Like if you ask a young person now, they know about the life of that celebrity and that one and the latest tea on this and that TV show. Yeah. And we tend to be so full of that we neglect ourselves and our own lives. that's the main thought.
Okay.
Then that's the umbrella. Then I was thinking also in our lives, speaking about problems, we all have problems, we all have issues, we all have family drama, we all have a crazy uncle or whatever. We all have, you know, people that don't like you, a coworker that doesn't like you, you know, you have life, it's not perfect.
Right.
And I was thinking now with opening, you know, the new building and all these different things, it's so easy to have your mind be pulled to what someone else's opinion is, what someone's trying to make your life impossible, by someone saying something on social media, by the problem that's happening in your own life, in your home, and your, call it whatever, anything. And it's easy to get distracted by that and be consumed by that we forget the assignment at hand. So we oh, but somebody said this about me, and somebody and if you're not careful, you can be too concerned with that you forget that you're like, no, but I'm doing this.
Right. Yes.
And it's not to toot my own horn, but toot toot. I do that like all the time. I was like, is that to toot my own horn? But toot toot. I like to think, I hate to even say this because it's like, God, don't give me something that, but it's like, I don't care. There's few things I care about. Yes. You know? Because it's like,
cue the music.
It's like, understand that in your life you have an assignment.
Yeah.
Right. And I think in Christian circles, this sometimes thought of assignment comes with like this overly spiritualized thought of like, my assignment is to, you know, lead whatever and change the world. It's like, yeah, sure, okay. But your assignment, it's also your children.
Yeah.
Your assignment is also your family, your husband, your wife. Your assignment is also your service, the role you play, whatever the case might be. But we get so caught up with outside things that it's the distraction of the enemy. Like, this is what you need to be doing. And I think back of Nehemiah, where it's like, I'm busy. You're caught. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Oh, but so and so.
Yeah.
You know, and so how many things and people do we need to be like, I'm busy. Like, I don't have time for your drama.
Yeah.
I don't have time for you to drag me into your situation and your drama. I don't have time for your negativity. I don't have time for your hate. I don't have time to look at your comment. I'm doing something. And so I just was thinking about that, because to me it's like, and Alex and I've been thinking about it, like, man, we're doing something and we're building something, you know, our family, the church, like, I don't care. Like, and I was thinking about people who just get caught up in that and their life become drama, and, you know, and you're listening too much to that person that's, you know, not agreeing with you, or your friend or your family member or your coworker that's making you, it's like, we need to learn to like, whatever the horses have, what's that called?
Un caballo con orejeras, pero
the blind,
Are
like,
they blinders?
This is where I'm going, and I just can't see, I can't hear you. What? You don't like what?
And I think a lot of it has to do with your identity, and like you being rooted and knowing like my identity is in Christ. I don't have to worry about what people are doing to my left and to my right. Like, what has God asked of me to do, whether it's in the workplace, at home, with my friends, and just staying focused on that, because it's so easy to think about, well, what's the next thing? It's like, wait, like one step at a time. Like, God has placed you right here, right now. If you're already thinking of the future, like, tomorrow's not promised for anybody. Like, yes, there's things to come. Yes, we got to dream. We got to have vision. And I believe for all those things. But also, what are you, like, how are you going to get there if you're not stewarding what you have right now, and you're not focused on what you have right now, and being what God needs you to be right now at the moment. I also think, because of course all of this can happen in like Christian community, but as someone who didn't grow up Christian, like, I know what it's like to, likes are everything, right? Or everybody has to like me, and I gotta be like the next big thing, and I like, you have to worry. Like, I think when you live in a worldly mindset, you're constantly worried about what the world thinks of you. But then you give your life to Jesus, and it's like, yeah, you know what? I don't care about that. Likes, who cares about that? Instagram, yeah, okay, I'll post here and there, but I don't live for any of those things.
Yeah, but even believers, you know, I think it's also something that we struggle with in our minds. It's easy again to, and it doesn't have to be anything bad or negative. Like, how many young people are just more invested in a phone and in what's happening in this person, or wishing I had this life, or wishing I had this, or how can I, that we forget to build our own lives.
We're so easily distracted now. Yeah. We don't have to look within ourselves. We don't have to, we have so, like you said, so much to look at. You know, I think about the building, and, you know, there were so many voices when we were building, and so many, I have to say, negative voices. There were so many positive voices, but there were some negative voices that were like, hey, listen, we heard from God. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. And I think too about how powerful it can be if we allow it.
Yeah.
And we need to have that attitude of like, sorry, wish I cared more, but I don't.
I know. And even in life, again, going back to families, and, you know, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily people wanting to destroy your family. It's the enemy. It's that there's a real enemy that wants to oppose everything that God built and everything that God loves.
Absolutely.
It's the same things nowadays, like us parents or whatever. There's so many things, conspiracy theory, thrown in our face, so that we really don't pay attention to the things that matter. We're entertained with the little bright things and the little shiny things.
Look over here.
Look over here. Meanwhile, all of this is happening here. Meanwhile, the world is going to crap. And but oh my God, look at this over here. And we are raising people who are not critical thinkers, who don't question things anymore, who just receive whatever social media, the news feeds us, and we're like, oh yeah, that must be true. And nobody ever now goes back to see, like, is this true? Where is this coming from? Like, the world doesn't think anymore, and we just go and wave the flag of whatever next thing, you know, it's on the news. And so told me this is bad, and that's good. It's like, oh and we no TikTok longer think for ourselves. And we have a generation of people, young and old alike, who no longer think for themselves.
And I'm reminded of when we were reading The Leader Within, right, our book, even how to build a good team, which I think people lack self-reflection and like allowing yourself to be searched and seeing. Like, I was also reading Dangerous Prayer, and I'm like, man, in order to be effective, like, you need to know what's happening within you, and how you, with the other book, like how do you contribute to a team? Like, first of all, what's important to you? What's happening within you? How are you contributing to others? Like, how do you, like, even if you don't agree on something, it's okay. Like, it's okay to not agree. It's okay to not have the same thoughts. But what am I setting aside to be able to be part of what's in front of me? You know, and it's like I think in the book he was saying about how some people were able to just come in, but because they had such a great skill of being able to identify things from others, because they knew what they had to bring, like, they were able to move forward. And I'm like, man, like, am I doing that within myself? Like, do I do things out of selfishness and don't realize it, or choose not to realize it because I'm just like, go. And it's like, no, sit down, have some quiet time, reflect. What is God saying to me, first of all, which sometimes is so hard to even listen to that. And then with like, all the voices. Like, how do I bring that to my parents, to my team, to my family, like to my staff, and even in life where it's like, like sometimes. And it's funny because it's maybe a little bit off, but it's like, I see people that even when you're hanging out and it's like, oh, everybody's on their phone. I'm like, man, 20 years ago when I was 19, nope, I didn't have a phone to just be on Instagram the whole time. And it's like, no, you had to sit down and talk. And that's where I realized, oh, I'm not as extrovert as other people, but I'll sit and listen and stuff like that. And I'm like, people don't even know that about themselves because they're so like everything. Oh yeah, so send me a meme or send me a reel, and it's like, here.
To think for yourself. Have that moment where I hear from God and I am okay with what I'm thinking about and what God's speaking to me, and I move based on that.
And you're working on it too. You get better each time because you're actually working on.
And even in the world around us, I think of like elections are coming up. Yes, I'm going there because I would. But even something as that, we have been so brainwashed to be so divisive towards people who do not think like us.
Yes.
And we're not all going to agree, and we can disagree respectfully, right?
Absolutely.
But even beyond that, do not just be informed. It's a perfect example. We are being fed information that anybody's telling us with whatever title they want to attach to their name. And just because they come out on TV, this person's terrible, that person's great, this person's whatever. It's like, it's a perfect example that I can think about of critical thinking. Like, go research, go read. Like, don't just be driven by, you know, whatever. Like, let's do this with everything in life, you know? And it's okay to be a little controversial sometimes.
I remember few years ago, there was a lady that came to our church. You remember when Alex's account got hacked? That he was selling Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wow. Yes. And it was hacked, and it was, this lady left the church because wrote it on a
paragraph
on a like team chat.
Oh no.
That she was very sorry. She was leaving the church because Alex had become a prosperity preacher.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember Michael was on that chat, and he could not control himself. He was like, what? And that is a perfect example of like, ma'am, did you even ask? Yep. Did you research? Or because you saw it, that was truth. Like they say, if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
We are predisposed to certain things. We already have something in our minds, and all it takes is for someone to go, and you're like, I know it. I knew it.
Yes. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. But that is social media. That is the world we live in.
And the news, like, it's the news, it's social media, it's everywhere you turn. And it's this thought that I hate to be this person, but it's like, these people are not thinking about you. They're just brainwashing you to be a certain way and to not think for yourself. It's like, guys, come on.
Well, it's like the whole Gen Z thing, believing that everything that on TikTok was true.
My goodness.
And I'm like, what do you mean? These are like normal, regular people. Like all of us. Saying whatever disaster they want to say on the internet.
Everyone's an expert. Everyone because they're on social media.
And all because I just write, oh, well, I'm Dr. blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, they're a doctor and they must be right. Oh, they're lawyer. Whoever. And it's like,
try picking a diet on social media. Oh my God,
no. You can't.
It's like, this is bad. And then, you know, there's too much information now.
That's why you need to just
do your own research.
Think for yourself, talk to God, come up with what's best for you, what does God want for you, for your family.
And go back to basics.
Everything else outside of that is unnecessary. But thank you guys so much for chatting with me.
Yes.
And
this was fun.
This was fun. And I love that we got to touch on different subjects and topics. And I love you guys. I'm grateful for you. And I'm excited. And I hope that if you were watching today, you enjoyed it, and more than that, that it helped you in any way. You know, we had fun, but I think we also talked about some important topics, and so we hope that it encouraged you, and we love you. We will see you next time, and we'll have some more fun. We'll have some surprises for the next time. And love you. See you next time.